It's really important that clinicians look beyond the stereotype media portrayal of autism. The people presenting to you on a daily basis may be any age, any gender, and of any intellectual ability. They may also be from any professional background, from a hairdresser to a doctor. It's really important that when looking at people in your clinics on a daily basis, you do not restrict yourself to thinking about autism for people who have careers in computer science or engineering, as this will not give you a wholly accurate view.
I think the fascination about autism is precisely because of the nature of the condition itself. It's because it's such a strong suggestion of a different way of being human.
Some people might sort of view me and think, okay, he doesn't have a partner or any kids. Why isn't he writing a book a week? After all, he's autistic.
I think there's something inherently dramatic in autism, or certainly in the possibilities that autism appears to offer, particularly after the success of Barry Levinson's film Rain Man in 1988.
The expectations involved with autism that come from representation in literary and popular culture can be dreadfully burdensome and unrealistic.
My name is Professor Stuart Murray, and I'm Professor of Contemporary Literatures and Film in the School of English at the University of Leeds. My major research interest is in cultural representations of disability, especially autism. Work I came to do following the diagnosis of two of my sons with autism around 15 years ago. I think one of the things that's always interested me about autism is that, unlike a lot of other medical conditions, such as schizophrenia or such as cancer, which have always been understood within medical context, autism was not widely known before the 1980s fictional narratives which came to tell its story. So in many ways, a majority audience, their first idea of a certain age, certainly, their ideas of what the condition is to be understood as came from those films and came from that fiction.
This is the main topic of my book. So my book is called Naming Adult Autism, Culture, Science, Identity, and it's published in July 2017 by Rowman and Littlefield International. So it's an academic book. Literary critical approaches, which are my field, crossing into autistic perspectives, which I haven't really got a choice on that. So I thought, well, I'll just embrace this and write about how autism is portrayed in science and in literature. Stereotypes are a huge problem. I mean, there is the phrase, you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. But if we were to say you've encountered one fictional autistic character, it's probably a white, male, very high achieving person in IT or in sciences. That stereotype is burdensome.
Often the cultural representations of autism have nothing to say about the day-to-day experience of living with autism, about having your breakfast, about getting the bus and those kinds of things. There's a kind of rarefied atmosphere of special difference that comes into play when the condition is represented. And that does no good, in many cases, to those people who are encountering with the world, living with families, living often with questions of treatment and with intervention. The metaphors, the storylines, if you like, the idea of characterization, which has been key to those various cultural narratives, I think it's clear that they find our way not just into general public understanding of what the condition is, for all that we're much better now than we were, say, 10, 15 years ago, but also, I think, to some degree, current psychiatric, medical, clinical practice, current ideas of treatment, current ideas of intervention. Much of the diagnostic language around autism is still dominated by deficit. So people with autism lack something. They have an absence of, they have problems with, they have difficulties with. There's that sense that autism is a de facto negative condition, like a lot of other cognitive disabilities as well. But because there's the imprecision about its diagnostic markers, because there's no blood test for it, because it has to be understood in terms of evaluation through talking and listening and dialogue, there is, and because of course it's a spectrum condition as well, there is a real feeling, I think, that those metaphors can kind of come to predominate, that autism almost becomes the thing we make when we investigate what it is. I mean, even little things like the common use of the verb suffer. So she suffers from autism. Now, I would never want to say that autism doesn't involve suffering. It doesn't involve suffering at all times. It can involve suffering. But often we use the verb suffer when we simply mean has. So so-and-so suffers from autism. Well, maybe they do, maybe they don't. But suffer is not a substitute for has. Suffer is a way in which we've internalized the idea that the condition functions in a certain kind of way.